today is Akshaya Tritiya. Just briefly touch upon that one. Kshaya means, in Upanishad class comes, Kshaya means tuberculosis name in Indian language is called Kshaya. Kshaya means destruction. Akshaya means no destruction. Tritiya means in Sanskrita numbers. Pratama for the number one, Pratama. For the second one, it is called as Dvitiya. Anything beyond number 2, it is called as Advitiya. Advitiya means not 2, but more than 2. So, Tritiya means the third one. Third one is Advitiya. It is not 2. It is something great. Something great. Akshaya, on this day, the commercial activities are like in a Christmas time, shopping, giving gift. It's a same mentality. The commercial beings, they are saying that buy the gold. Buy the gold, you will get lot. People have been doing that one every year. But what this says, Akshaya, even the gold has a limited utility. Limited utility, seek the highest. He is not like gold. He is Advitiya. He is great beyond your imagination, beyond what is seen and unseen, what is heard and unheard. And he is beyond all the matter. He is beyond the all souls. He is beyond the Prakriti. He is the Purusha. Akshaya Tritiya means on this day, seek your sadhana, whatever you do, it will get multifold benefit. Because it's a special day. This Akshaya Tritiya comes in the second month of Indian calendar, Vaishak Mas. The first month is Chaitra, second is Vaishaka. In the second one, on the brighter side of the sun, it is a third day. Akshaya Tritiya comes. The significance of what is Akshaya Tritiya, it's a special interest for the seekers. On this day, Sudama, classmate of Sri Krishna, they studied together in Sandipini Gurukul for 64 days, and very poor background. And he was so poor, even his Sudama's wife was finding it hard to meet ends meet. So she urged him, please go to Sri Krishna, your closest friend, he may help. So Sudama said, how can I go to the Dwarakadisha, who is the in charge of whole Dwaraka? How can I go empty-handed? And I need to give something. So she did not have anything at home. She borrowed a handful of beaten rice or poha, and he did not have proper bag also. She tied it in a rag and he put it in his the cloth. He tucked it in. As he went to Dwaraka, Sri Krishna saw him from distance, came running and gave him a big hug and asked him, what did you bring for me? Sudama was so shy to see the opulence of Sri Krishna's palace, so shy to say anything. Sri Krishna noticed something hanging in his what is tucked. He pulled it out and took a morsel of that one. Said, "This is the best snacks I ever had." And this is on this day, Sri Krishna partook the handful of meager beaten rice from his poor friend Sudama. And subsequently, Sudama was bestowed with opulence. So from Lord's eyes, it's not your outside what you show off and give. From the Lord's eyes, it is the devotion matters. This second one, the sixth incarnation of the Lord, Parshurama, was incarnated on Akshaya Tritiya day. He appeared on earth, the son of Jamadagni, on this day. And maybe in Bhagavad Gita class, I talk about Parshurama and Vishwamitra, how they are related. I will talk about that one. In Treta Yuga, in the second one, Satya Yuga and Treta Yuga started on this day, on Akshaya Tritiya. Bhagirath did intense tapas to cleanse off, wash off the sins of his ancestors, Sagara. He did intense tapas and wanted Ganga to come to the plane of earth. It was held up in the jata of Lord Shiva. On this day, Ganga touched the earth on this day because of Bhagiratha. Anything you do with great effort, it is in India, it is called as Bhagirath Prayatna. You are striving like Bhagirath. It's not an ordinary effort. And in coming to Mahabharata, Ganapati started writing down the Mahabharata on this day as dictated by Vedavyasa. Vedavyasa wanted a scribe, and he thought of Brahma. Brahma sent Ganapati, you go and write. In next month, in June, we are going to Badrinath Mana village. There are two guhas are there. One for where Ganapati sat and wrote down, and in the other cave where Vedavyasa was telling. And Ganapati started writing under the condition, I will write provided you won't stop. Vedavyasa said, okay, I won't stop provided you write down what you understood. Yesterday we had a teachers meeting. I asked some teachers, you attended that one, what does it mean? They said, I don't know, that we did not understand, but we remember. What Ganapati says, remember what you are writing. Just taking notes won't lead. Ganapati showed us that understand and write. So Vedavyasa dictated when Ganapati was catching up, he used to give terse verses in around 8,000 verses are there. The Deva Bhasha. It is beyond the limit of humans to understand. Even it is a wonder to divine beings, the inner meaning of that one. The Kubera, the custodian of divine wealth, a treasurer. Treasurer Kubera took over the role of a treasurer on this day of divine wealth. Is Kubera is it's in the direction east, and Indraya Namaha, Agne Namaha, Yamaya Namaha, Nairitya Namaha, Varunaya Namaha, Vaivya Namaha. Then in the southern northern side, Kubera and Ishanya. He is next to the Ishanya. He is Kubera is near Mount Kailas, close to that one where Alakananda is coming. Alakananda is coming. We are going to the place in June where river Alakananda has come. It's Alakapuri. The capital of Kubera is Alakapuri. From there, the treasure, the spiritual significance, apart from that one, who visits Alakapuri, they will have immense of treasure in their lives to come. We are going that side coming in couple of months. The Kubera took over the role. Kubera is called as Raja. Rajadi Raja. He is Kuberaya Vaishravanaya Rajayate Namaha. He is called as Raja, king's king, because he is the treasurer. Kubera is not the giver of wealth, but he is only a treasurer. He can't give the treasure willy-nilly. He is a worker, like a bank of a treasurer cannot give the money willy-nilly. Bank treasurer is under the rules and regulation. Even Kubera also is a treasurer. He dispenses the divine wealth at the behest of the Supreme Lord. And Sri Krishna saved Draupadi from Dushasana's molestation by giving endless. Dushasana tried to disrobe Draupadi in the court. Draupadi thought of Sri Krishna, and her cloth became the countless, that he was exhausted of disrobing, he could not. That is on Akshaya Tritiya. And Akshaya Tritiya, Draupadi, when Pandavas went to the Vanaparva, so many retinues, rishis followed Yudhishthira. He was worried, being a king, I had to look after these people. How can I manage? So Dhaumyacharya asked him to contemplate on Surya, the sun. The sun, he did a tapas on sun. He got the copper vessel called as Akshaya Patra. When given to the Yudhishthira, the sun told him, sun divine, the Surya Bhagavan, he told him, this won't give, you have to do something little bit, it will get multiplied. What it says, you have to work hard, you have to work. Nothing comes easily. Our intention, we don't want to put any work, but everything we want in abundance. We want in abundance. We do the temple round and go here and there. Coming to the sadhana, we want to do. We don't want to do what Surya Bhagavan said in this vessel. You prepare a bit, and whatever you prepare, it will become countless. It's a message for all of us. You have to do your sadhana. It will get multifold, multiplied with the divine grace. Those who worship the sun, those who worship, get up before the sunrise, it itself says they will have a health. Health is wealth. The one who worship Surya, one who does the Surya Namaskar, they will have abundance of health and wealth. This on Akshaya Patra, that vessel, Draupadi, Yudhishthira handed over to Draupadi, so that all people who followed him could be fed. And Draupadi was saved by Sri Krishna. Durvasa, along with his 10,000 retinues, were sent by Duryodhana. Duryodhana wanted a boon. Duryodhana served Durvasa so well. And when Durvasa asked what boon he wanted, Duryodhana said, please bless me, go to Pandavas, and that to go after they finish their meal. This vessel, Akshaya Patra, gives only after you wash it, it will give only 1 meal a day. After you wash it, it won't give. He said, please go there after they partook their meal. Please go and please give an opportunity for Yudhishthira to serve. Cunning Duryodhana thought Durvasa, known for short temper, he would curse Yudhishthira when he could not feed, and he wanted to see the fun. When Durvasa Rishi, along with his 10,000 retinues came, Yudhishthira welcomed them and invited them for lunch. Then when he told Draupadi said, it's a big problem. We already washed the vessel. We finished our meal. Then it was a big predicament. And Durvasa said, we will finish our ablution, afternoon ablution, our prayer, will come back. By then, Draupadi was panic-stricken. She thought of Sri Krishna. The moment she thought of Sri Krishna appeared, and as he came, first thing he said, Draupadi, you called me, I am very hungry. And Draupadi said, that is why I called you. You had to save. And Sri Krishna asked that vessel, give me that vessel. He saw his Sri Krishna's divine eyes, eye within the eye. He can see everything. And he looked at that one. There was a small grain of a vegetable was stuck to that one, which is beyond humans cannot see. Shri Krishna saw that one, partook and said, I am satisfied, I am so full. When he said, all the 10,000 retinues who were there with the Durvasa, everyone experienced the bloated stomach, and they thought, if we do not take the food, Bhima would take us for a task, so let us quietly run away. So they escaped without even saying goodbye. So Akshaya Tritiya, so many stories, references comes in the scripture. Any good work you do on this day get multiplied. Start your good work today, like intense yoga we did, any donation you do, whatever good thought, japa you do, sadhana you do, get multiplied. It's Akshaya. Kshaya means limited, unlimited benefits, good thoughts, good deeds, and gets multiplied. That is the significance of Akshaya Tritiya on this day. And now over to you. Any comments, questions? Narendra, your children have any question? The many stories I said, you should explain this one to your children also.
Sure, Guruji.
Yeah, any comments, questions, or other? Rita, you had any Ask Me a Question series? You raised some question.
Yes, Guruji, thank you so much. And first and foremost, thanks for sending that chapter today. I mean, on this day, reading something like that was really significant. I had a few questions from that, which is what I had sent. The first thing was when you said Satya, there is one point where you said, do not speak unpleasant truth. So why is it that you're saying if it is unpleasant, we shouldn't be speaking?
No, unpleasant means if it is with a reference if somebody, for example, in the story it comes, one person, Rishi was doing the sadhana in his kutir, and one person being chased by the robbers, and he hid himself in the ashram. Rishi saw, those robbers asked him, "Have you seen that person?" Wanted to steal. This Rishi thought, I should not tell any lie. He pointed out that there. So, because of that one, in next life, he had an accident and his hand was cut off. Though he did not speak, he showed that direction. So, you have to use your judgment. By telling that one, is it going to bring good, or if it is going to bring bad to the good people? By telling Satya, if it is making hard for the bad people, yes, you say. If it is by telling the truth, if it is becoming creating a chaos for the good people, not to utter that one. So, Satya means saying as it is not truth. Whether it will bring general good for the good people, by telling, that's Satya. For by telling that one, it will make life hard for the bad people, yes, you tell that one. By telling truth, if it is becoming torture for the good people, then not to say that one. Okay, that is the message of Shastra. I saw your 2-3 questions. What were the other one?
Yes. Second one was also similar, like when you said akrodha. So how do we say, and in that you also said akrodha means, it's not, doesn't mean not to get angry at all, but sometimes you have to get angry. And that was my question, like how do you say, how do we decide when to be angry, when not? And I think that answered.
Yeah, it's a same thing.
Same thing.
And for example, the terrorist attacked the innocent people. If the Prime Minister of the country says, I'm cool as cucumber, it doesn't bother me, if he says, it is not right. He should, when good people are getting affected, you should be able to stand up. Without that energy krodha in the navel, without that one, you can't stand up. If something bad is happening to the good people, you should be able to stand up. And if it is not there, it is called as a defect, something wrong with you. For the good things also, good people are getting affected, you are saying that aham brahmasmi. So you have misunderstood your Shastra, scriptures, you have to get up. So that is okay. And what was the third?
One just question came up because of this point. Like sometimes when people get angry, they also bring in emotions into the anger.
Yeah.
How does one be aware of the fact that, you know, you're being angry for a right reason, but then because you're bringing in emotions, it probably dilutes it, if I can put it that way?
No, anger with, you have to have that with the sadhana. Sadhana, you should make not to immediately react. Wait for a few days. For example, India did not retaliate immediately. Able to see the pros and cons. As a sadhaka, you have to see the pros and cons and emotions. For example, in America, there was in Washington, somebody killed his wife and son, shot them, and he himself, after that, maybe regretted, he himself shot himself dead. So, emotions, is angry, no consequence, never thought about the consequence. I teach in the prison also. Prison is full of people without any thought on the consequence. A fit of anger they do. So that is emotions through the sadhana. Sadhana, whenever you are angry, they say inhale and exhale 10 times, deep inhale and deeper exhale, till let the emotion, your emotion settle down, so that you can think properly through your intellect and take action.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah. The third question that I had in my list is, so in chapter 16 Bhagavad Gita, we talk about Devi Sampat and then Asurik Sampat, right? So, and Devi Sampat is Abhayam, Sattva, Sanshuddhi, and all those. So, acquiring those qualities is right. But if somebody doesn't have those qualities, it doesn't mean they are Asurik, right? It means they have a gap that they need to fill in to acquire that wealth. Is my understanding correct?
Asura means not Sura. Sura means divine. Even humans are called as Asura. Means we are not divine. Divine people, humans with divine tendencies, they get drawn towards that one when they are exposed. If we humans, we have demonic traits, however much you tell, they still pursue the demonic traits. So you cannot bring in the divine qualities. Humans with that tendency alone get attracted. Demonic people, however much you tell, they won't get attracted. So Sri Krishna, as I mentioned in that my writing, it gives the neutral. What are the pitfalls for our sadhana? Sadhana, only the people with the divine traits will acquire. What are the pitfalls? What are the things we should observe? Be vigilant. If something is coming up in me, arrogant, dhambo darpo abhimanascha krodha parushya evacha ajnanam cha vijatasya, this ignorance, not interested, arrogance, conceit, hypocrisy, pride, over pride, anger, if they are coming up in me again and again, when I'm why Sri Krishna brought out, these are the signs. Be mindful of those ones. If it is coming, question yourself. Is it what is coming? Is it worth entertaining? Sri Krishna says, if you entertain, how it will happen, how it will make you fall down. In the rest other shlokas, he talks about how that person with those qualities going to fall. What a fall, what a great fall into the lower species also. Sri Krishna says, at any cost, understand the signs and take sides with the divine, inculcate. You have no choice. If you want to that side, road is clear. It is a great fall. If you want to go up, that is the 16th chapter. It's a reference book for everyone. We should be mindful of those traits. Thank you. Yeah. And any more comments regarding ask me a question from your learning? Yeah. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Guruji, for today's session. I just had a question regarding the emotions as we were talking about. So, like, there's a Ayurvedic text like Ashtanga Hridayam, and like the first verse starts off with like Raga Nirogan Satadanu Shaktan. So just the first word, Raga, and the author defines it like that Raga referring to attachment, and like Icha, Moha, Krodha, Lobha, Matsarya, Dvesha, and then among those different emotions which we should avoid, one of the emotions he lists is Sukha, like happiness. I just want to know, like, how does Sukha comes in this category? How can like Sukha be bad? Like, how can Sukha be Raga in this context?
Now, Sukha means getting attached to the comforts. I want to be so comfortable. I attach to my comfort. I don't want to step out of my comfort zone. when I'm so caged myself in the comfort zone, if I do not want to go out, best in you never will come out. I always tell in the class also, never seek the comfort in your life. Be always on the edge. If I say I'm comfortable, I have $2 million in my bank, I'm comfortable, I get up at 8 o'clock in the morning, I have coffee, tea, and sit in front of the television whole day, I have sought the comfort, but it is going to my downfall. It is a raga. I got attached to the ill-gotten. For a seeker, comfort is the one takes delight in the higher delight, not the ordinary. Ordinary, that is what it is talking about. Seek the higher happiness, not ordinary happiness. People say, I am very comfortable. I had Easter break every day. I was getting up at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. I call it as a comfort. It is, from the ordinary eyes is comfort. From the sadhaka's point, it is what a waste of time. That is what raga it is talking about. Not to get settled for ordinary things. I got the 6-figure salary and not to get settled down. Tatakim, keep on asking, what next? What next? What next? I learned one chapter of Bhagavad Gita. What next? What next? Keep on asking yourself, what next? Then only necessity is the mother of invention. Keep on asking, higher things starts dawning in you. Thank you, Jorova. Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying. Yeah, that makes sense now. I just had another question where there's different scriptures classified under different gunas. There's Sattvic guna Puranas and then Rajas and then Tamas. So how does that mean one is better than the other? How does that translate into practice?
No. We need all 3 gunas, as I mentioned in the 14th chapter. I think you need Sattvic guna, Rajasic guna, and Tamo guna. For able to meditate, you need Sattvic guna. In the early morning, you sit for meditation. Get up before the sunrise and keep yourself erect. It's a Sattvic guna. In the daytime, you should have energy to go and earn your living. Go and work, or you're studying in the uni. Study, be creative. It's a study. And if you're so energetic in the daytime, in the night also, if you're so energetic, you can't sleep. You need Tamoguna. Tamoguna to relax. If you do not have Tamoguna, you can't sleep also. You need all 3 gunas, but under control. Not overly dynamic. I don't know how to rest. Or too sattvic. Always I want to meditate. I don't want to do anything else in my life. That also is not possible. You need all 3 to maintain this body also. Shri Krishna says, only to maintain this body. Sattvic guna means I just want to meditate. Let the whole world look after me. You are not supposed to be burdened to anyone. You should know how to maintain yourself. You should know how to look after your family or whoever. For that, Sattvic guna alone is not enough. You need all 3 combinations, but they are under control. Control, it's Shri Krishna says, when you suppress Tamo and Rajoguna, Sattvic quality rise up. When the Sattvic quality is there, invest that one for learning great things, good things. And by suppressing the Sattvic and the Tamo guna, and you are dynamic. In the night time, I want to recline, I want to sleep, suppress the Sattvic and Rajoguna so that Tamo guna has taken over, you can rest. You need all 3 but keep it under check. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And like just regarding that one, I was referring to like like some I don't know if I'm correct, but they refer to like Vishnu Puranas like Garuda Purana, Narada Purana, Vishnu Purana as Sattvic Puranas, and then Shiva Puranas as Tamasic, and then Brahma Puranas as Rajasic. So does that mean like one should like how would you look at that? Like what could that mean?
No, what it means, it's all Puranas are written by Vedavyasa. Purana is not Rajasic, Tamasic or Sattvic. By reading that one, Tamo Guna people get inspired with that one. Purana is Sattvic, but people with Tamo Guna get derailed. Tamo Guna means susceptible to misinterpretation. They get misguided. Tamoguna people, they get misguided. Rajoguna people will get motivated by going through the Brahma Purana, Vayu Purana and those ones. And Sattvic Purana, Vishnu Purana helps in strengthening your creativity, mind. The Puranas are good. All are good Puranas, but your Sattvic quality get strengthened through the Vishnu Purana, Linga Purana and those ones, your Tamoguna. Tamoguna get enlivened, Brahma Purana, Vayu Purana, those ones, Rajoguna. That people of those traits, they get nourishment through these ones. Yes, we should read, and also Vedavyasa says Puranas and Upanishads do not read by yourself, because the real meaning is not what appears on outside. You have to read it under the guidance of a teacher. Otherwise, what is written, it is need not be the implied meaning. Implied meaning, pratyaksha, anumana, and pratyaksha, and what it is, darshana bhasha, what it seen need not be the truth. What you read using the Panini grammar or keeping a dictionary need not be the meaning. It's a darshana bhasha, guhya bhasha. It tells something, but it is wanting to convey something. In the scriptures, Vedavyasa himself says, Paroksha Priyanam Devanam. Divine beings doesn't want to talk straight away. They want to say something implied from outside, like Indian army, if they want to communicate, convey some message to the other battalion, they won't say in a pure English language. Pure language, they convey talk such a way, it will confuse the opponent. Though it is the same language, other opponent should not understand what they are talking. The coded language in Sanskrit, Puranas and Upanishad have a lot of coded languages. So, not to take it as it is, the Linga Purana and all, though it appears to be saying, the Sattvic people, there is no misunderstanding. Only Rajasic and Tamo Guna people, they get easily misled. Misled, that is the intention also. It is these are so profound. It is not for the eyes of an ordinary seeker who has not done any sadhana. You have to approach a competent teacher, and through the meditation, contemplation, you have to learn. Okay, it is not a novel and ordinary, the shop I purchase a book and read and throw. Not that one. It is time tested. It has withstood for thousands of years. the meaning, there is it conveys a profound meaning. Okay, thank you for asking.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
I had one question on that same topic. What is the difference between gunas and swabhavas? Because we say sattvic guna, rajasic and tamasic as gunas, but we also refer to the same aspects in swabhava. What is the difference between the two?
The guna, it keeps on changing. Gunas are the ropes. I need that guna, we say literally that it is closely aligned, that person's guna is good. Generally we say that person's guna is good. Guna means the general tendency of that person is good. That is the swabhava. Swabhava and guna are the linked, but swabhava cannot be always be. I am always associated with Rita, for example. Rita is a good person. I am my quality is, my guna is very negative. But because of my association with Rita, I acquired the positive qualities, and but inside, what is my prabhava? My swabhava has been coated by the swabhava of other person. So I am very my quality is not good, but I got a job in a company where corruption is not allowed. My swabhava, it's negative, but environment doesn't allow me to do anything wrong. So doesn't mean I am so honest, because I did not get any opportunity to be corrupt. So from outside, I appear to be a very good person. But from inside, when the opportunity comes, my real color will come out. Swabhava is covered by the prabhav. Prabhav means influence. Maybe the family traits, family or the environmental, the coating on that one. In this life, my swabhava is so good. In next life, my true color has come out, maybe so negative, that you cannot measure the swabhava, whether it's a swabhava or prabhava. It takes time. Whereas the guna is the modes. When the tough time comes, when the tough time, still if I am good, that means my swabhava is good. If I am put in to work in a very corrupt organization, and my guna, true swabhava will come out. Yes, everyone is making money, let me also make money. Make money hook or crook. The guna provides an opportunity for me to show my true colors. Whether I clarified, but in broad sense, I told about that one.
Yep. Okay, sir.
Any more comments?
Guruji, just one small question. So, is Kalpa Vriksha or Kamadhenu or any of those related to Akshaya Tritiya?
It's the same thing. Kalpa Vriksha means, Kalpa means it's whatever you think of, you'll yielding that one. Kalpa Vriksha or Kamadhenu is a wish-yielding cow, divine cow. And Akshaya Tritiya, the real sense, Kalpa Vriksha name itself is, there is Bhajatam Kalpa Vrikshaya. Whatever you wanted, God will give. That concept itself is wrong for the seeker. We don't know what we want. So, Kalpa Vriksha, today, like this is a monkey mind. Today I want that one, tomorrow I want that one, I want that one. So the true devotee aspires for nothing for oneself. Whatever is your wish, may that be my wish. If I am putting an application, I go to on Akshaya Tritiya, I did so much of sadhana, and my wish is, please give me $10,000. After doing so much of practice, if my wish is only get something limited, is it a profitable business? On the other token, you are Akshaya. You are Akshaya. I am Kshaya. You know my mind keeps on changing. I don't know what is right or wrong. Please give what is good for my journey. That surrender is Akshaya Tritiya. In my wish, today I buy a kilo of gold, thinking that next year it will be 2 kilo. It's gold is only a material. We are on this day, we are seeking the Supreme Lord. Seek Him. He is everything, complete in all regard, with the Lord of the universe. In front of Him, what can I ask? If I ask for $10,000 or promotion or another house, is it not silly? I can have anything, but if I ask only for this one, it is not a profitable business. On this day, let us as a devotees, our only prayer is not to ask anything, but devoted. Let Him decide what is good for our journey. Total surrender. It is Him, He knows what is good or bad. If I ask that one, only that much I'll get. Sri Krishna says, my devotees never ask for anything. I look after yoga kshemam vahamyaham. I take the responsibility of looking after my devotees. They themselves do not know. Ananyas chintayanto mam ye janaha pariyupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. The true devotees, the welfare is my responsibility, Lord says. So on Akshaya Tritiya, we will only seek Him. It is His responsibility. He says, it is my responsibility to look after my devotees, and let us allow the divinity manifest through us. Any more questions?
Guruji, just on Akshaya Tritiya, I've heard of this like Udaka Kumbha Danam, this donation of water. Is there like a significance behind that? Like, what could be like the reasoning? Because I've heard like it's
A
like
part of, what is that? Udaka Kumbha?
Danam, like the water donation on Akshaya Tritiya.
Yeah, that it is giving. Udaka Kumbha means the full pot. One is, as I mentioned, Ganga has come as symbolizing the Ganga I am giving, and pot full, I am brimful, I am giving. It symbolizes I am giving something full to others without any hesitation, and symbolizing the Ganga, and any act of charity without expecting in return, it will have a regarded as very auspicious, because on this day any good thing you embark, japa you embark, it will get further strengthened. If you are giving any donation, Bhagavan will empower you to give more and more, whatever you do. Yeah, it will empower you to good things. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
And last one, no questions. We started on the Mandukya Upanishad Mandukya Upanishad. It is talking about Om. Briefly to touch upon something unimaginable. We say something wonderstruck. When you say "Woe," "woe" means what a wonder. Oh my God, we say. Oh my God. It's again Om. In English, Omni. Omni has come from Om or Amin. Amin in Islam or Amen in Christianity. It starts with Om. This Upanishad is talking about Om. Om is Uyate iti Om. One which intertwines with everything is called as Om. Again, Om has 3 letters: A, U, A, U, Ma. A means whatever starts with A, it is talking about the Bhagavan. A means Adhika, A means Akshaya, it's Ananta. Whatever starts with A, it is A. To say that one, mouth wide open, A. U, you say lips closer. Whatever you whisper. Or what you, Ma means lips together. Whatever you say with mouth wide open, close lips, whisper or mentally think. You cannot think anything, you cannot talk anything, you can't whisper anything where Om is not there. Om means Uyate iti Om. In this cloth, if I remove all the threads, cloth is lost. So is Om, interwound with everything, is called as Om. And Akshaya, that it's A, U, Ma. For example, the masculine letters in Sanskrita starts with I, I, U. Up to Aha, 16 letters are there. Then Ka Varga, Cha Varga, Ta Varga, Tha Varga, Ma Varga, Kaka, Gaga, Nga, Papa, Baba, Ma, and 25 letters. 16 plus 25 is 41. Then Ka, Ka, Ga, they are called as feminine letters. Ya, Ra, La, Va, they are neutral, 10 in number. A, the last letter, Ya, Ra, La, Va, Sa, Sha, Ha, La, Ksha, 10. So 16 plus 25 plus 10 becomes 51. 51 is called as Aksha. A to Ksha. So A to Ksha, that Japamala, one is 108, or if you want something smaller, it is 51 beats. 51 beats, the Japamala is called as Akshamala. A to Ksha, 51 letters are there. In whatever languages, whatever you say, it is confined between A to Ksha. It talks about only Om. Om, you convert ordinary talking into a divine talking through this Om. You can look out for on Sunday I talked about the caveman, the cave experience. We went to Launceston Maricopa cave. Amrit was saying that this way, any experience we can see the higher dimension. So Om is saying that whatever may be ordinary thing, you can see from the elevate that one to the higher level, Om. It's Akshara, Akshaya Tritiya, Akshaya, Aksha, Akshara. Akshara means alphabets. A to Ksha, Ra means Ramate. One who revels through every letter, everything. Life is nothing but a reveling. For God, for Him, everything is a revel. Even destroying also is a revel. It's a revel, A to Ksha, through the Aksha means ice. Akshara, for him, he revels through all eyes, all ears. For us, if I see good things, I enjoy, bad things, I suffer, I regret. For God, everything is a divine experience. Everything is a revel. He revels through everything. There is no suffering in him. Then Akshara, I talked about Artuksha, Ramate, and Akshara also means complete, omnipresent, and Akshara also means Lakshmi. In the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that concept comes, and Adhikam Ksharati Akshara, Om is called as Akshara. The first shloka of this one, it talks about Akshara, Adhikam Ksharati, giver of abundance in our life is called as Akshara. Akshaya Tritiya, another one, the meaning is giver of abundance in our life. And the Kshara also means Narasimha, destroyer, Kshinivasa. Ksha means one gives the shelter to the seeker. It is called also Akshara. So, Om, he starts with Akshara. The first shloka, he starts with Om iti ityetad aksharam idam sarvam tasya upavyakyanam. Om ityetad. Etad in Sanskrit means something very close. And idam means this, something bit away. Etad means what is within. Om is Supreme Lord, is the closest of the closest. Om it etad, this one, what is closest is called as etad. Idam means what is outside. Antar bahischa tat sarvam. He is the closest within. And upa vyakyanam, contemplating on Om. Upa means up, which takes us higher in our life. Upa means up. In English it has become up. Upa means the Upanishad. Upanishad means one which brings us closer. Upa means which brings us closer. Why? Because it wants us to go higher in our life. Upa also means subordinate. When you come close to the teacher, sit at his feet, subordinate. Why? You are coming close to the teacher. Why? Because you want to go up. Upa vyakyanam. Bhutam bhavat bhavishyati iti sarvam omkara eva. Om. Dhanyavad. Today's topic, some interesting questions from Rita and Jorvar, and we talked about Akshaya Tritiya. We'll continue on Mandukya Upanishad next week. Dhanyavad.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you.
Thank you.